Welcome back once again. It's time for the Comics Coffee Table, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily. We leave our problems, the real world, at the door. We come to our coffee table. We pull up a chair. We grab a cup of whatever it is we're putting under our nose today. Today I've got some cool, delicious water. I do. And as Bruce Lee said, be water, my friend. Be water. Let me wet my whistle. Thank you so very much. Yeah, we talk comics daily, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern. We are, we've been talking comic books every day for a while now. And this year, I'm using these two books to get a ballpark figure of my comic book collection. I'm learning how to grade comics better. And this is the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, 52nd edition, most current. You can find a link in the description to the Amazon page for both of these publications if you want to play along at home. My parents got these for Christmas, last Christmas for me, so this year is dedicated to my parents. Thank you. I love you. And yeah, I'm taking this opportunity to rebox, reboard, and rebag my entire comic book collection. It just needs some love. So I'm taking those old, funky, stained long boxes and I'm moving them over into short boxes. I've got some acid-free boards. I've got some comic book bags. I need to find Mylar bags, but you know what? They'll be in where they're in. And it's very important to me to not use my online supply chain and to get my ass out of the house and go to my local comic book shop and spend my money there and give them my patronage. All of us should. I'm a big fan of this because like mall toy stores, like the record store, like candy stores, these once these stores go away, they're gone for good. I think there will always be some kind of genre niche comic book shop, like, you know, a boutique. But the comic book shop as we know it is endangered. And the floppy, these comic books, these monthlies could be endangered as well. I think the characters and the stories and the heroics will endure though. I think the medium will change and the marketplace will follow suit. Yet while we can, let's keep these businesses alive and thriving as long as we can. They're the center point of our comic book culture. You know, we have online resources, we have conventions, but the local comic book shop has been our home and hearth, spiritually and culturally, for about 40 years now. And let's keep it that way. Only, you know, we can keep these shops open. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. I hope you are clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. I like to say also at this point in the show that we are not professional graders. If you have any serious questions about the condition or amount, value of your comic books and floppies, please go to your local comic book shop. They can put you in the right professional direction. We do this show for entertainment purposes and to learn. We're educating ourselves. So now I know what to look for when going in the back bin issues. I can see that this copy of like Daredevil might be a little dog-eared, but it's the first appearance of Stick. So guess what? I'm paying that $25 for it, no problem. Something like that, you know. And also questions to ask too, like, you know, do you have final negotiation power? If they say no, be like, can I speak to the person who does? And if they say yes, being like, can I haggle the price of this comic book? I would love to buy it from you and here, but I noticed that this has like, you know, like spine crack or spine roll or a corner or, you know, something like that. So, I mean, there's that to be gained too. Negotiations, you know, and those, like, you know, are very human things. Like, you know, hey, I feel like I negotiated a fairer price. I like that, and I hope you do too. So let's get to it. We talk about comic books. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday, we were talking about this, the non-New 52. Now we're getting into this middle ground of DC publication before the rebirth, but after New 52. We no longer have New 52 as on our banner ad, okay? And but one thing I forgot to mention yesterday, this is artwork on Earth 2 Society here. It's written by Daniel H. Wilson, but this is art by Jorge Jimenez. And he just did a really great 6-issue run with Chip Zdarsky on Batman. He did some time on Justice League. He's one of the best modern comics of you can get for new releases these days is Nemesis Reloaded. So seeing Jorge Jimenez's art evolve from here. Now I like this then, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I was like going through these yesterday, and I'm like, oh wow, did you forget to mention Jorge Jimenez? You did, and that was not on purpose, but I thought because Jimenez is so good that we need a minute to just value him and his contribution to superhero comic books. He does his own penciling and his own inking, and I absolutely love the design on Val Zod's Earth 2 Superman. I love the white cape. I love the white boots. I love that different. I love the difference between him and Kal-El visually, and this is a great alternate Superman design. Also, we get an updated look for Power Girl, where her boob window is covered by the S, where she's kind of like grown into it. She could be Power Girl, or has she grown up to be Wonder Woman by this point? I don't know. I only got 4 issues into this. Earth 2 got so convoluted as a story. Like the original Earth 2 was destroyed. Then there was Convergence, Talos, and then came this like Battlestar Galactica thing of humanity. Went on these like space arcs and trekked across the galaxy until they found a new home. And so this is the new Earth 2. And it revolves around a binary solar system here of a red and a yellow star, which is interesting. It does interesting things to Val Zod and Kara's powers. That if the red sun is up in the sky, they're going to be depowered. They'll still be mighty, yes, but will they have full access to all their powers? No. And I just think this... I love his panel progressions. I love the action scenes. He knows how to draw dynamic fight scenes. I'm loving it. And, see? Convergence. Spinning out of the tales of Convergence. Yeah. Exactly. Huh? Titans Hunt. What to do with all that lost time. We try to, people like the original Titans. We messed everything up. Let's save it. But, yeah, I mean... And so I feel like Jimenez has toned down this, he's got some kind of Humberto Ramos quality to this. Like the big wide eyes, like the anime, it's kind of like anime eyes, I would say. Like there's just kind of like a very kind of anime style to this, and a kind of Humberto Ramos like playfulness. And he's really toned that down, especially this was done in 2015. This Earth 2 Society issue number 4 has a cover date of November 2015. And this was released last week. And here's the same artist. And he inks his own stuff too. So, Clem Robbins does the lettering. I love Clem Robbins lettering. I mean, you can still see the same kind of, there's an anime kind of quality to it. Like, look at the big eyes. I mean, and just like, there's something, I can see it. Speed lines, it's composition, it's something in the, I refer to it as visual tactility. There's something in the feel of the art. It's kind of like describing wine. You have to use other things to describe the wine, but he's come a long way, and he's probably one of the best superhero artists in the game today. 2023. Ain't that cool? So I'm clearing out spaces on my spinner rack. My spinner rack's out in the living room, and it's staying there. Yes. But I think I've overburdened a couple of spots. See, I got 4, 8, I got 16 spots all day out there. You got it's got 4 sides. I got 4 bins per side. And I got this in a chunk. This is like, now I've done a video on this before. I'll post it in the link over here. A spotlight from January of last year when I got this. This is perhaps the 3rd time I've had this series collected. I actually had it from a certain spot. This is the Shadow from 1997, 1998. And I caught on board about Harold Goes to Washington, with written by Andy Helfer and art by Kyle Baker. And then starts perhaps one of my most favorite comic books arcs ever, The 7 Deadly Fins. And it's a shadow story set in modern day New York. And this released probably December of 87, January of 88. And I'll be going to summer camp that summer of 1988. I'm 15 years old, and it's going to be my last year ever going to summer camp before I started having to get a job and work all the time. And one of my campmates had a footlocker full of comic books, like current Batman at the time. Remember, it's 1988, so we're leading up into the whole hubbub of Tim Burton's Batman 89, which also is around Detective Comics number 600 as well, which is its own, its own milestone. But this ends at issue number 19 in the middle of the story, or at the end of this arc, Body and Soul Part 6, but it doesn't resolve, and it doesn't go anywhere. And yet, this is like my 3rd time having this. So when I got back from summer camp, I hustled down these floppies. I did. That was my first time having it. And then again, when I came back to comic books in 2001, by 2004, I had another copy of this run, which got interpolated into a roommate who was one of my best friends at the time. And we kind of like put our comic books together because it read better that way. But the band broke up, and I left behind a lot of things. So that was the 2nd time I was separated from this run of the Shadow. And then came last year, where I found a really decent deal. I think it was about $40, then another $10 for shipping. But I got this entire run of the Shadow. And it starts, and they didn't even include this into the price or anything. They just threw it in there. These 3 comic books, they started up the whole thing. This was June, so this would have been, May of 86, issue 1. It didn't have issue number 1. So now I'm on the hunt for issue 1, because basically 2, 3, and 4, it's nice to have, but I need issue 1 to pull it all together. And to give, if I ever wanted to get rid of it, I don't think I want to, because this is like literally the 3rd time I've owned these floppies. I mean, they're not collected in a trade, I don't think, but they are. It's like, why would I want to go and all over again and find it again? Because this is obviously one of the ones that stuck with me all this time. But yeah, it starts with Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin was a huge name in the 80s. He actually started off doing the first 6 issues of Star Wars and Marvel, and then moved on to do more, interesting things. But Chaykin dominates the 80s, and for me. He did something called American Flag, which was always in the background. I never really read it. First Comics, they were an American comic book company. I'm going to read this from, you guessed it, the Wiki. First Comics is an American comic book publisher that was active from 1983 to 1991, and then from 2011 to the present. They are known for titles like American Flag, Grimjack, Nexus, Badger, Dreadstar, and John Sable. They had competitors like Pacific Comics and Eclipse Comics. And I'd throw in Comico too, because Comico was one of their contemporaries. Comico had the Robotech and the Star Blazers licenses. And I was really, really big into getting those as well. But First Comics was out of Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And American Flag was First Comics was one of the first comics publishers to have creator-owned, as we like know it today. Like, hey, this is the creator owns the rights to this comic book, and they will. And it was American Flag was set in Chicago, Illinois, in the early 2030s, and it was just dystopian, futuristic, and I knew it peripherally. I really did. And then I knew, Chaykin was like, a big name too. He also did other things around the 80s as well. He did some Micronauts, and that's probably much. I knew him from that. But then he went over and did American Flag. And after American Flag, he came over to DC and started doing The Shadow. And he did the first 4 issues of The Shadow. See, well, The Shadow is its own thing. I mean, it started in 1930 as a radio drama. In 1931, it started, dime store novels, like just pulp fiction novels. Then came movies. And there were, comics of it, but The Shadow wasn't really a comic book hero, yet it is part of the whole superhero mythos of that time, of that golden age. Because the golden age starts in 1938 with the release of Action Comics #1 and the premiere of Superman. So that's when. So these are definitely, there's some overlap between the Platinum and the Golden Ages here. So The Shadow is I would definitely put The Shadow into the Golden Age of superheroes. Is a huge part of that. And The Shadow most definitely had an impact on Batman. This is true. But yeah, so Chaykin left after 5 issues, and then the editor, Andy Helfer, just started writing it. So you have Shadow Annual #1. There was 2 annuals. It went 19 issues, so we have 21 issues of The Shadow itself. You can see it kept the design of the logo. So this is continuing from the Chaykin. So Chaykin starts it off, and this we have Bill Sienkiewicz art. I mean, and Sienkiewicz, we saw. I love Sienkiewicz's art from Moon Knight in 1981 that got my 50 cents at the spinner rack before summer camp, to the New Mutants in Marvel Comics as well. The New Mutants, Sienkiewicz did so much art for the New Mutants, and I loved the New Mutants. The New Mutants were Xavier's team of gifted youngsters that were not the X-Men. When they graduate and learn, then they will become the next generation of X-Men. And Sienkiewicz did so many of those covers and so much of the internal art for those. It's just great. And then the Elektra rides again. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. And then we got Sienkiewicz on The Shadow. So Sienkiewicz, as with Howard Chaykin, really dominated my experience of comics in the 1980s. And Sienkiewicz goes for 6 issues as well. And then, for the rest of the time, we are introduced to Kyle Baker. And Kyle Baker was a young artist at the time, and he just has amazing faces, and using this pastels, like the coloring. Oh gee, these like the Frank Miller kind of talking head TV things, and oh, just look at this. Isn't this great? Hellblazer had just came out too. It was before Vertigo. Vertigo started in 1993, but I just love these faces that Kyle Baker would draw. Seriously, and then the use of color, and the use of absurd and grotesque, and just and violence. This is just, yeah, they would chop up people and put them into the hot dogs. That was like, oh, gosh, yeah. The Finns were an Irish gang, and they were put in an opposition against the Shadow, and the Shadow's gang of operatives, and it's madcap. It's really, really twisted and fun too, but Kyle Baker stayed on the entire length, and it just ends at issue 19 and stops. The Shadow will get another life, but then it would be set back into the 40s where it started and had nothing to do with this series. So this series basically had no resolution. It's one of those, comic books are just full of that there will be these amazing runs, and then there's one day, sometimes it'll just end, and you don't have any resolution, and you're like, why isn't there any closure to my story? Well, sometimes that's just how it goes with comic books. They just end like that. Look at this, man. Freedom Rock, turn it up, man. Well, Freedom Rock was a different album, but the Time Life music series. Look at that, huh? And the Dr. Fate. I love these. These were, and look, suggested for mature readers. So this was, a different kind of publication for a different kind of audience. I have to go back and find this. The Prisoner. This is a sequel of the TV show. So I'm like really interested in finding that and see if it's any good. We have here Cosmic Odyssey. This is an amazing. Jim Starlin wrote this with art by Mike Mignola, and this is in my the trade paperback of this is in my Crisis Long box because it's that good. This is where Jon Stewart has the hubris of thinking he's all that, and then the planet Xanshi ends up blowing up because of his undercalculation, and he carries that emotional luggage with him for about 40 years. And in here, the Hawk and Dove that helped put Rob Liefeld on the map. See, pencils by Rob Liefeld, inks by Carl Kessel. But yeah, this was like one of Rob Liefeld's first things. And then he was doing some Marvel stuff around there too, and then really explodes with Cable and his time on New Mutants and the introduction of Deadpool. Well, the turkey's done. V for Vendetta, which was previously done. Then it was incomplete and finished on DC Comics. Oh, yeah, here we go. The Killing Joke. Yeah. Prestige format. Shipping in March 1989. Yeah. Let's see. We got Flash Gordon, the Phantom, and the Shadow. It's like DC Comics got the license to some King Syndicate and some Condé Nast stuff, because Shadow's owned by Condé Nast, and I'm pretty sure that Phantom and Flash Gordon are King Syndicate. Yeah, King Feature Syndicate, and they're published under an agreement, But yeah, so we've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day, 3 p.m. here at the Comics Coffee Table. I'm drinking water today. I sorely need it. I'm a little dehydrated. But we leave our problems at the door. We pull up a chair to this coffee table. We grab a cuppa, and we just sit down and hang out with each other like we used to do. The coffee table's always been my place, where my friends would hang out There would always be a stack of movies, a stack of music, a stack of books, and most especially, a stack of comic books that we would be trying to turn each other on to and talk about. So in that sense, in that spirit, welcome to the Comics Coffee Table. Thank you so much for coming by today. God bless, namaste, good luck, and we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao, bye-bye.